allies, partners, colleagues, butt buddies? Yokai-Watch has all these, and while down the line there have been some fantastic duos, one duo made me ponder, am I in love with shooting doji? Now for this week we're going to be covering Doketsu, but for next week, I gotcha. Doketsu is an S-rank fire attribute fighter / attacker yokai that hails from the new tribe initiated in Yokai-Watch 4, Onizuka, or Oni. This is a tribe that purely consists of Oni, and according to the yokai lore, existed ruling the yokai world before the Enma era. But once Soranaki came to be, also known as the Overseer, their tribe almost became extinct. His blurb reads, a loyal subordinate who serves shooting doji. He possesses a skill which cannot be compared even in the yokai world, which named him a master swordsman. In the human world, he changes into a form of a human and goes around to scheme together with his master. Doketsu's name, Doketsu, may be a play on the Japanese word Douketsu, which in English translates to cave, but can also have alternate translations of grove, grotto, and den. His name in his yokai form may be based on a reference as to what an Oni's habitat is, as an Oni likes to seclude themselves in caves, remote mountains, islands, abandoned fortresses, and even the depths of hell itself. And yes, I did say human form because Doketsu also has a human form, and for that human form he has a persona to fit with it as well. For his human form, his name is Shimanouchi Goryu. This can be broken into two parts. Goryu meaning rock dragon, which in Japanese history there was a famous duel on Goryu-jima between two famous warriors, Miyamoto Musashi and Sasaki Kojiro. The later Sasaki Kojiro created a kenjutsu, fencing or swordsmanship school on the island. The last name, Shimanouchi, may be based on a reference to the Shimanouchi Yosei Theater, which was a famous theater for storytelling events within Japan during World War II. The literal translation of the name Shimanouchi is Island of Agriculture. In the game Yokai-Watch 4, this is the first time that humans qualify for blurbs, and Doketsu in human form gets a blurb that reads, the homeroom teacher of Sakura's second middle school's 2B class, who's in charge of the physical education curriculum. He is gentle and very popular among students. It's Doketsu's fabricated human form for finding the princess. Though Doketsu can't be obtained in his human form, Doketsu is obtained on quest number blank in Yokai-Watch 4. Like many of the Oni in the Onizuka tribe, Doketsu attains the appearance of an Oni. He has bluish gray skin, ogre-like claws and toes, and instead of horns that Onis in his tribes have, Doketsu trades that in for some flair, with a mane that flows from his hair, on the side of his hands, and on the side of his bag-like shorts, where a gold waistband is. He also has a wispy-like tail, which just makes it cute. Analyzing his amulet he has on his head, this is a green gem that is shaped like an eyeball, but the reason the gem might be green is because it represents a certain stone. Going to Chinese culture, jade is a metamorphic rock that is naturally colored green, red, yellow, or white. Called Yi in Chinese, jade is important to Chinese culture because of its beauty, practical use, and social value. The importance of jadestone in Chinese culture is reflected in its status as a symbol of goodness, preciousness, and beauty. To the Chinese, jadestone is also an embodiment of the Confucian virtues of courage, wisdom, modesty, justice, and compassion. The polish and brilliance of the jadestone is considered by the Chinese to be the representative of purity, while its compactness and hardness reflect intelligence. This stone might be reflective of his tribe and Shuten Doji's plan. As with the shape of the tribe and the origin about Onis there, naturally known as the villain of mankind. Even though Onis have a lot of traits that would match up with the Jade Gems, they are seen as evil and are vilified. To make an analogy, this is something that we face now with fighting with cops. Like the Oni, because though we know from myths and legend like Shuten, Gozen, and Yamato are wicked Onis who terrorize people, we are perceptive to think that they are evil. And with what happened in Shadowside and Yokai-Watch 4, we're perceptive to think that Doketsu and Shuten are just evil beings trying to terrorize the world. With the Jade Stone, it helped reassures that there are some good in these two, even with how the legends establish them. With the tattoos on Doketsu, I have a slight premonition that this may be referencing a superstition called sanpaku, a term which is to describe eyes with white proportion visible either above or below. This is used to offer hints in a person's life, though this is just a speculation for Doketsu's tattoos because he has 5 eyes located on him, and it could just be for aesthetic reasons, just like Throne Wiper. Lastly, for the yokai form, Doketsu wields Asura Goien Maru. This ruby sword is one of the 5 sacred armory swords that holds incredible power with yokai known as Kenbu Majin, in which Asura Goien Maru host is a demon god of one celestial realm, Asura. In his human form, Ganryu attains his most casual look as a teacher can get in Japan, while still having the eye on his left side. Doketsu also has one more form that most wouldn't know about, well, unless you played Puni, and even then you still wouldn't understand why he's like that. So with Soranaki's virus turning one's resentment and hatred into power, this is starting to sound a bit familiar. At some point in episode 43, Natsume is in the midst of getting infected by the virus, almost becoming a pawn for Soranaki. But it is where Doketsu takes the infection that we get our first new form of Doketsu, Shima Doketsu, or True Evil Doketsu. In this form, he gains a grunge purple aura around him, and his eyes become sunken. This was a form that later came back in Yokai-Watch 4 after Shuten Doji killed him, and in an event in Yokai-Watch Puni Puni where he's still in SSS rank. Now, let's move on to the origin. Doketsu's origin really isn't that hard to look at. In fact, it's blatantly obvious as the series goes on, especially with that blurb and these scenes here. Doketsu may be based on the demon of Rashomon, whose nickname also means Thorn Tree Child, Ibaraki Doji. This is a yokai who was the right-hand man of Shuten Doji, though like many yokai, there's no way to classify what gender Ibaraki Doji is, as the conception for certain things about Ibaraki gets confusing, like the relationship between Shuten and Ibaraki, and what happened in Rashomon with Ibaraki. What is known and kept to fruition in every story for Ibaraki Doji is how they are a terrible, fearsome monster that is bent on wreaking as much havoc as possible in the human world. For the legend of Ibaraki Doji, it takes place at Rashomon, the southern gate of Old Kyoto, which was built somewhat akin to feng shui. There were gates at the 4 cardinal directions, and these plus the Emperor's Palace at the intersection were also represented by the 4 celestial monsters, Bayako, Suzaku, Ginbu, and Shiryu. This gate became an unsavory place after the Heian period where thieves and bandits hung out, and it became a dumping spot for murder victims and unwanted babies. This was the period that Ibaraki Doji came to haunt the infrastructure and its gates and make it their own, giving them the title of the Demon of Rashomon. The legend goes that after celebrating a victory over Shuten Doji, Minamoto no Yorimitsu went to return to Kyoto to tell about the triumphs of how he had slayed Shuten Doji. A noble came with warning that a demon was haunting the gates of Rashomon. One of the generals, Watanabe no Suna, who we will be referring to as Suna, having returned from the battle with Shuten Doji, didn't believe that there were any Oni left, and single-handedly went out to investigate. When Suna had arrived at the gate, a great howling wind broke out, stopping his horse, and he dismounted and went on foot. Approaching the gate, he suddenly felt an enormous hand reach out and grab his kabuto fast. Suna wasted no time and swung his great katana around, severing the arm of the enormous demon, Ibaraki Doji. Ibaraki ran away, leaving their arm behind, and Rashomon was no longer haunted. Now, there are some legends that say that Ibaraki came back as a wet nurse in order to steal back their severed arm and flee. And some claim that they have even seen Ibaraki causing mischief in another town, either coming or going. Now, there's not a lot about Ibaraki Doji, to be honest, but if you're going to look into it a bit, a good book to which I would recommend a lot for yokai that I don't get much information about is the tale of Hyukai, because most of the samurai that they have were in the Heian period, and that's where the tale of Hyukai is set. Now, let's take a look at how Ibaraki has been doing in the media, shall we? Now, for the famous general who is the right hand for Shutendoji, the big three of the yokai mythos, you would think that the media would give them a bit of respect. Well, I mean, yes, but also nah. First, let's tackle something a little bit easier with Onigiri, a game that to this day I'm still confused with why Nintendo allowed this shit to go up on their stores. Wait, I'm talking like Nintendo had standards. I'm sorry, I'm just confused how Roblox is better than this. Ibaraki is a half Oni who runs the traveling bar. She sells liquor to the player, which can review special stats that are not present in normal items, granting temporal stats. She's also in the anime where apparently the trivia says her breast grew. Next you have Monsoni, a game which has an anime and another series that is like most of these idol pop star animes. I don't know, I didn't really get much from this anime to be honest. In the anime, Ibaraki is a bandmate of Satan in the indie band Wicked Pistols and asks Lucifer to join so they can win the Monster Rock competition. Seems simple enough, right? The Shin Megami series. I feel like we're going to be talking about this series a lot, which harbors a bunch of ghosts and deities for you to become friends with. In the series, Ibaraki appears as one of the 5 Onis who were terrorizing the Kyoto area of Japan, though sadly, she only appeared in 2 Shin Megami games before she was disposed of. Otogi Zoshi is a bunch of illustrated short stories which formed one literary genre of the Japanese medieval era. These stories got adapted into a TV and manga series which is divided into 2 story chapter arcs. The Heian chapter, which takes place in Kyoto during the Heian period, which follows Minamoto no Hiraku, younger sister of Minamoto no Raiku, the slayer of Shutendoji, and the Tokyo chapter, which follows the reincarnation of Hiraku and her comrades facing the ancient evils in present Tokyo. Though I don't know much of what happens, I can say that this iteration of Ibaraki is female. You guys remember the tale of Hyukai? Well, Toho projects Kaizen Ibaraki, a hermit living in the mountain possessing an artificial arm and other special abilities. Literally all I can give without spoiling most of it is Toho project, to be honest. Ayakashi Ghost Guild from Zynga, the masters of Farmville and Mafia Wars, made a game about collecting demons, but most enjoyably, the stories about the certain demons and the conflict in the universe. In the game, Ibaraki is a female who apparently loves desserts. She could be obtained in the Demon King Rises, a conquest mission where the Demon King Shutendoji has been summoned and is rampaging in Tokyo, and it is your job to defeat her and her subordinates. Another mobile game, Puzzles and Dragons, a puzzle video game with role-playing and strategy elements, which collaborated with titles like Persona, Street Fighter, Fate Stay Night series, I gotta get on this, Google Play, and McDonald's? In the game, Ibaraki is a attacker water element who is a 6-star that is our first male variant of Ibaraki. Yet another mobile game where your wallet is playing with fire, and it is one of those gacha games. Onmyoji has Ibaraki Doji as SSR, who I heard is going to be cross-dressing soon. In his bio, he says,
3000大千世界にあって陸道主上万物生き量は誠にちっぽけなものだがそれは妖怪とて同じこと気を抜けば他の種族から虐げられもてあそばれやがては殺されるだからこそ誰かが教えてやらねばならんのだ生き残るため強き者のもとに集うことを
The boy's got an ego complex, I see. You wanna know what's even more ironic? He's voiced by Ronto, and Joker, and freaking Chinese Mothman. Jun Fukuyama. Also, I gotta say they're really trying to promote me to some homoerotic tension as Shooten is a guy, and yeah, gotta say playing this game with them two around and seeing them interested in each other a lot. And I like that. Tokyo Ravens, a Japanese light novel which is about a battle to prevent the Japanese from causing the error that happened in World War II again, has Ibaraki Doji and a male iteration named, I can't read that name, a powerful Shikigami who was consistently at the side of helping the military army gain the advantage during World War II. In Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, there is a card named Ibaraki Doji the Hayaka. This is a level 7 fire attribute fiend monster that has the effect of only being able to be summoned when you control no cards in your hand. Otogi Spirit Agents. This is a game where you collect diamonds to help fight for you in your quest for something. In the game, Ibaraki Doji is a 3-star unit and his description reads, the right-hand man of Shootin' Doji. He is super friendly and has no dignity in a good way. He also is known as a playboy who is constantly going after girls, which surprisingly doesn't seem to bother most people. So he has a lot of connections, which might explain why he is so well liked in the first place. Deep down inside, he's honest and hardworking. Sadly, if you like this game, it's another one of those gacha games that died way too early. Noraihyun no Mago is a series I'm still surprised they haven't collaborated with, and Puni Puni has another male iteration of Ibaraki Doji. This version of Ibaraki Doji is laid back and a bit arrogant. His appearance is the form of a regular man with half his face covered by wood, but when he goes berserk, the grave mark on his face breaks, revealing his Oni-like features, turning him into a bloodthirsty, violent demon. Lastly, this should particularly be known, the Fate series, particularly the last gacha game on my list and one of my favorites, Fate Grand Order. This is a game where the objective is to team up with heroic spirits from various timelines to fix a singularity. In the game, Ibaraki Doji is a 4-star Berserker class servant who has an affection for Shootin' Doji. She first appeared in the Rashomon event, which she steals Shootin' power and wreaks havoc among the villages. Ibaraki also gets a summer outfit and changes her Saint Graph from Berserker, giving her the Raiko treatment. Doketsu was one of my favorite yokai introduced in Shadowside and made me excited to play him in Yokai-Watch 4. Too bad that would haunt me indefinitely.
That's why I don't use Toma, because like, he's broken.
Hopefully later down the line, Yokai-Watch will shine with more stable yokai like Doketsu. Next time on the list, the next yokai is...
せっかく300年もフライングさせてやったのに年寄りの力などあの程度でしょう。しかしあれだけ派手に暴れてくれれば姫が顔を見せてくれるって思ったんだけどな。
Yeah, we're going 2 for 2.